The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has asked the Federal High Court to issue an order of mandamus compelling President Muhammadu Buhari to probe allegations that over 880 billion naira of public funds are missing from 367 ministries, departments and agencies. The suit followed the allegations contained in Part 2 of the 2018 annual audited report of the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation that 880 billion naira was spent by 367 MDAs without appropriation. In the suit, where SERAP is actually seeking an order of mandamus to direct and compel President Buhari to promptly investigates the alleged missing 881 billion naira of public funds to ensure the full recovery of any missing, mismanaged or diverted public funds. And of course, one of the cardinal focus of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration is to fight corruption. Well, the government is not relenting on fight against corruption to stand still. But figures released by the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation suggest that corruption may still be evident in government circles. Well, I am now being joined by Lanre Suraj. He is the Executive Director, Human and Development Agenda. Thank you, Lanre, for joining me tonight on the program. Well, Lanre, I'm sure you can hear me clearly right now. The fact that this government, looking at the government of President Muhammadu Buhari, this is an administration that is actually having fight against corruption as one of its main key 4 pillars. Why do we have to wait until there's an order from a court before an investigation should be carried out to find out where this 880 billion went?
Yeah, it is rather unfortunate that this has been the trend for many of the executive governments that we've had to manage and cope with. The successive government have deliberately undermined the office of the Auditor General, and no thanks to the National Assembly. The National Assembly has successfully, until now, ignored the report of the Office of the Auditor General. And this is why we're saying fighting corruption is not about even prosecuting the people that would be involved in this case, and that is the most important thing. It's about preventing this from happening. The fact that the $881 billion could be said to have been missing from MDAs, and many times this is not just about politicians, because we are usually distracted to think that corruption is only perpetrated by politicians, but most especially, most importantly, is usually perpetrated by the civil servants. And that is why you could hear from the ICPC, for instance, saying that about 301 properties were seized from civil servants. And recently, that is where you are seeing the $881 billion. Most of these houses that you see in Abuja with unknown identity of ownership, these are where you have the $881 billion. And what is important for the government, unfortunately, that is yet to happen. What we've seen many times is about the rhetorics and it's about also commitment and promises. But unfortunately, we've not really seen the whole of the government really working as a government in unison to actually fight corruption. So you will find one hand of the government working to make attempts and formulate policies. The other would actually be pulling it back. There's nothing that the central bank, for instance, can use as a justification for not being able to track many of the funds that are involved in the Pandora paper that found their way out of here. We have not seen bankers, either junior or senior, giving account of their own responsibility in what we have of illicit financial flow, where about $15 billion is getting out of this country on annual basis. These are issues that need to be put in the front burner to ensure that we prevent and not start policing. The cost of investigating and prosecuting each case of corruption is almost equal to the amount that is lost. So it is double jeopardy for the country. It is double jeopardy for the people when the money is stolen and then you have to start chasing it and prosecuting people involved.
And like you have said, Lanre, sometimes chasing the money even costs you more than even the money that was stolen in the first place. But at the end of the day, we have to find some sort of middle ground. And Lanre, let's correct something. It's 880 billion naira, not dollars. That's what the Accountant General's office is actually claiming. But beyond that, Lanre, let's have this conversation. The fact that, Nigeria is now willing to be a part of the Global Action Task Force on Money Laundering and Terrorism Financing. Let's talk about how significant this is, because we've actually refused to be a part of that group that already had about 39 members.
Yeah, what Nigeria has been doing is part of the Edmond Group, which is why we have the Financial Intelligence Unit, the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, which also culminated in the separation of that unit from the EFCC, unfortunately, to the central bank. But the majority of what we can call, illicit fund flow and also illicit financial flow, which is what the GIABA stands about, because it's about money laundering and terrorism financing, is actually happening in the banks. And now the NFIU is under the central bank. The central bank is also governed, because we have the CBN governor, by someone or people that are from the commercial bank. Who are also culpable of what we call the money laundering thing. So it is not just being a member. That is the issue. It is what we do with the membership. It is the milestone that we have achieved. It is how much we're able to curb, money laundering. But Nigeria is not there. We're having about 30%. I wasn't actually saying $881 billion. I was saying Nigeria is losing on annual basis, based on international report. We lose between $15 and $16 billion every year to illicit financial flow. This is part of the money laundering that we're talking about. So for us as a country, it is not the joke of just saying you want to chase the people. It is about, for any serious government, it is about blocking the loopholes where this money gets to. And that is why deliberately the political elites and politicians will not like institutions like the Code of Conduct Bureau to either be adequately funded or to be effective, because that is one of the most potent institutions with the capacity to actually prevent the accumulation or the diversion of funds into accumulation of wealth and property and assets. But unfortunately, deliberately, it is one of the least funded. And sadly, again, in 2022, it is one of the agencies of anti-corruption that the government even reduced, its funding from what it got last year. So rather than increasing the funding of the institution, rather than making it more independent, the government is making it less independent. And that tells you how serious you want to say the government is in terms of either fighting corruption, money laundering, or illicit financial flow.
Absolutely, Lanre. And of course, we have to also question the part of the Treasury single accounts where governments, departments, and agencies are able to, they can track how much, who's getting what. But you know what? Lanre Suraj, the Executive Director, Human and Environmental Development Agenda, I'd have to say thank you so much for joining me tonight on the program.